federations, David, that have sprung up recently. Some people,
Sure.
former members of our organization, who have taken upon themselves to badmouth our organization, try every trick in the book, lawsuits, everything except the art of actually getting competitors. That doesn't seem to be very high up on the food chain. But
No.
we talk about, old Suburbans and stuff like that. Well, everybody saw the picture making the rounds on social media. This beat up old family truckster out in Hawaii somewhere, with somebody tagged with the letters NPC IFBB, which, by the way, doesn't look like spray paint to me either. It looks like that stuff.
I think it's the paint that people, like high school kids, use to
Yeah,
paint their cars for homecoming.
yeah,
It's not, it's not permanent.
you put the Go Trojans on there and all that kind of you can wash it off with a napkin. But point being though, I don't give this not one sliver of authenticity. That this is the most contrived bullshit I've ever seen in my life.
All right. So just in case anybody hasn't seen this, because I know there's some guys on the MD forums that are detached from social media. Basically, what happened is Saturday night, a picture was posted of it had to be like a 92, 93, like baby blue Suburban or Tahoe with NPC IFBB painted on the side. Now, the implication is that there's an athlete competing in another federation who is being bullied
Oh,
by the NPC and the IFBB. There was a couple things that really stunk to the high heavens about this, and I kind of went off on social media about it. First off, nobody vandalizes a truck like that. I mean, and here's one. Let me just preface this by saying, so I don't come across like a total dick. Let me preface this by saying, whatever you use to get from point A to point B, I don't judge anybody on that. So
sure.
if this is what you have to drive, whatever. I'm actually like the type of person where I'd rather see an older vehicle that somebody keeps clean and takes care of it than a Mercedes where the back seat is piled up with McDonald's bags and
Right.
smells bad. So let's just get that out of the way. I'm not trying to make fun of whoever the owner was. That being said, I don't believe for a second that there even was a real owner of this vehicle.
No.
I think that this was a horribly planned, conniving, just cheesy attempt at making it look like there's athletes from this federation being bullied. And so it looked like the side of it was painted. Again, the paint that was used on this vehicle probably was worth more than the vehicle itself. Second off, these athletes that are in this particular organization are going to be making millions through Nike and Pepsi
Oh, yeah.
and modeling agencies and movie deals
That's right.
and made-for-TV shows. So an SUV worth $500 really shouldn't be that big of an issue. But again, this whole thing was my bet is that they went to a junkyard, found an SUV, spray painted it, took a picture of it, actually believed that people who saw it would be dumb enough to buy it. I mean, it was. I don't even know. I want to say lame.
It's not very transparent, David. Let's just call it what it is, okay? Listen, these are the tricks and the tactics that they use over there, because the bottom line is this. You got to get business, okay? There's three parts of business. I'm going to help them out a little bit, David. That's what I do. I help people. So I'm going to help these guys a little bit by telling them the three things they should be focusing on. Forget about the negativity. Forget about the lawsuits and all this other stuff that ain't going anywhere. It's just wasting a bunch of money and a bunch of people's time. Bottom line is you need competitors, sponsors, and ticket sales. Now, they've already had one show, which was a complete and utter disaster. They could have given away that Suburban as a prize for it. That would have been kind of cool. They could have custom it up. By the way, where's that 18-wheeler still that we were looking for that was supposed to be, getting all done up for the world tour?
Right. They're gonna drop what they said that truck was gonna cost $100,000. You're gonna spend $100,000 on a custom truck to take on a countrywide tour. You know what? Spend $99,900 or $99,000, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. How much money?
And take the extra $500 and buy this guy a new truck.
Listen,
Yeah.
throwing $100,000 a show away is not a sign of a good businessman. Okay, they've already dropped $100,000 on the Space City, which is very appropriately named because there was more space than anything going on. But you listen, in all seriousness, you saw the results, and it wasn't very good.
No,
We've had more people at workshops than this guy had at a show. The bottom line is if you're going to go out there and put yourself out to be a super promoter, then maybe that's what you should focus on. Maybe that should be your very first focus, is forget about us. Put the spotlight on yourself. Go get business. Go get sponsors. Go get athletes. You're 0 for 3 right now. Speaking of 0 4s, and we'll get into how many 04s there are because there's probably another 5 I can go down the line of that. He's just coming up snake eyes so far. But the bottom line is this, David. You're not going to endear yourself to the athletes with all this ridiculous talk and AAU and back in 1978 and all that. Nobody cares. No one cares. This is ancient history. By the way, and I like to take this time to clear up some of the mistruths that have been put out there. For all you NPC athletes that are watching this right now, okay? And I'm telling you this in an official capacity as the IFBB athletes rep. Okay? 1982 is significant, David. Not because the Flock of Seagulls came out that year with a new song, but that was the year that they dictated that you as an amateur could go compete anywhere you want.
Anywhere.
That we could not tell you as the NPC, you can't go compete anywhere, neither could any other organization. So this isn't anything new as it's been put out there. Like this is something with the guy holding up the paper and, oh, look what happened. And, for the first time since, for the first time, this has been going on since 82. Nobody cares where you compete as an amateur. Now, that said, as an IFBB professional, when you sign the dotted line, it is an exclusive arrangement with the IFBB. No, you cannot, as an IFBB professional, compete in another organization, in a rival organization. That's professional. That's the difference between amateur and professional. You cannot get to the Olympia in any other organization or federation other than the IFBB. So when I see these ambiguous posts that are put out, get nationally qualified. No, that's for their own thing, not our nationals. Because you know what's going to happen, David? People are going to be showing up at the national championship, submitting their resume into there, saying, hey, I qualified at this show. And they're going to go, that's not an NPC show. So, sorry.
No, look, they're trying to make it look like you're going to get blackballed at an NPC show if you do a show in another organization. The reality is the promoters of these NPC shows, you get so many people entering. Nobody's doing background checks.
No.
I mean, if you did a show in a different organization on a Saturday, and 2 weeks from that, unless you're some famous person that a million people know, right. 2 weeks later you go and do another show. Nobody's gonna know. I had a friend a couple years ago. She went and did I don't know if it was WBFF or whatever. She went and earned her pro card, and she just did it on a whim. Sure. Went to a different organization,
okay.
Earned some pro card in some smaller organization. Then she was going to do junior nationals a couple weeks later, and I had sent her a letter, and I'm like, hey, look, I don't think you can do that. Technically, you're a professional competing right. in an amateur organization. But she had sent in her, she sent in her application for juniors and stuff, and everything was fine.
Sure.
Well, that's because the promoters of juniors don't have time to go over 1,000 athletes and say, well, this person's with this and this person's with that. Look, if you're an amateur athlete and you're competing in one federation and coming to the NPC, not to minimize the importance of you being there, but the promoters probably aren't even going to know. It doesn't have any bearing on anybody until it becomes the professional level, and that needs to be cleared up.
And here's another thing, okay? You can't just go out there and simply declare that you're our competition. All right? You don't get that right. You don't get to go out there and say,
right.
Oh, the 2 biggest federations in the world have come to an agreement. No. Wait, whoa. Time out here, man. First of all, I've heard that there's 70 physique organizations in the world. I'll take that number. I'm sure it could be something different. But let's just go with that for conversation. He's number 70. 70. You're 70 out of 70 right now. You had one show, which was a disaster, that 12 people showed up. There was more people working the convention center than there were in your show, okay? There's natural federations, other federations that have been around, for 2 minutes that have had more people. So you're last. You're dead last. That doesn't make you our competition.
Let me interrupt you real quick. How many Suburbans have you seen spray painted from athletes from other organizations in all your years?
Well, see, that's interesting. You bring that up, David. Funny you should mention that, because it's funny because Paul Dillette went out. He was obviously an IFBB pro. Everybody knows who Paul Dillette was. Sat down with Jim Mannion, had a lunch, and said, here's what I want to do. I want to start my own federation. It's primarily going to be in Canada, and this and that. And Jim said, best of luck to you, Paul. All right, and he went on his way, and you never heard one bad word from Paul about our federation and vice versa. Lou Zwick, who I've known for many, many years, who most people know him by way of the Musclemania shows that have been around forever. He's in charge of Musclemania. That's his federation. He actually works with us every year at the Olympia. I work with Lou Zwick on the production team. He's in the back. He's not one of the guys out in the front. He's in the back doing the production, all those videos you see and all that kind of stuff. That's all Lou Zwick. He's got his own federation and works with us. Never heard a bad word. Never had any attacks. No old Suburbans, destroyed or customized.
Customized. And you can't even say destroyed.
No, it was destroyed. Actually, I think it might have increased the value.
The value issue. So customized.
But I can, Bob Johnson. Now, Bob and Laura Johnson, who I've known for many years. Okay, they were 20-year NPC people. And they put on shows in Texas. He finally had it up to here with his chairman at the time, and decided to go do his own thing. He says, "Look, I can't work with this guy anymore. I'm not dealing with this. I love you guys. I love the NPC. I love Jim Mannion, but I'm going to go do my own thing." He went and started the GBO, all right, Global Bodybuilding Organization, which I'm told actually is doing very well. They've got a whole bunch of people on there. They've actually combined forces with NABA and a few other organizations.
Sure.
They've got a few thousand people already. Bob Johnson is a friend of ours. He still he trains people out of his gym, and he sends people to NPC shows. He goes, "Look, I'm not in competition with you guys. We kind of we do our own thing, and that's cool. But I always love the NPC. I train people. I put people on NPC shows. So it's interesting because the only common denominator I see here is that it's not other federations that are complaining. It's one guy."
Yeah. Well, the thing is with this particular federation is, as a lot of people know, the week after the Arnold, he's got his first pro show. And to say that his situation is desperate or dire would be a gross understatement. Anybody who's been following this knows he's got, I think, maybe 2 or 3 bikini pros at the most. I believe he's got 2 men's physique pros, 1 competitive pro bodybuilder, 1 figure girl that I don't even know if she's actually competing. So he's supposed to have a pro show here, I believe March 12th or 13th or something. And he's got less than 10 pros. Now, here's my prediction on what's going to happen for this, okay? So there's a pro show March 12th, 10th, whatever. He's going to come out and pretend like he's doing something brand new here, and he's going to say, "The people who compete in the amateur, when you turn pro, we're going to offer you this wonderful opportunity to compete with the pros that very weekend." Which is already done in other organizations across the world. I've seen it in other countries where they have an amateur show and somebody turns pro, and it's really cool. Actually, it's a cool thing to see. Somebody wins a pro show on a Friday, wins a qualifier on a Friday, can compete at the pro show on a Saturday.
Sure.
Now that is like a gift or a treat to the person who turns pro to be able to jump on stage. It's not done out of necessity for competitors. There's a huge difference. The other thing that if that doesn't happen, that's my one prediction, is that this whole show is going to be canceled, and he's going to point the finger at legal litigations and stuff like that and say, "Well, we would love to have this pro show, but because of litigation issues, we're not going to have it." I mean, because right now, something has to happen, because you're having an amateur show and a pro show, and from everything I've heard, he's got less than 10 or a dozen pros, and there's supposed to be $80,000 in prize money. I don't see how that works.
Well, I haven't heard the 80,000 in some time now. That was originally put out on video. It's still out there for anybody that wants to go look it up. I haven't heard an exact amount in some time. Haven't heard really a lot of mention about the show in some time. And there's a second show, David, on the same day, which I can't wait to see how this works, in Connecticut. So there's 2 shows in that.
Wait, same organization in Connecticut?
Same organization, same people, same everything, but 2 shows on the same day, March 12th, one in Connecticut and one in Texas. By the way, I don't know how that whole system is going to work there with the scoring and all that. He's also gone on record as saying that he's got this certain format and look to his shows that he wants, because it's like a franchise, so everything's going to look the same. You're not going to go to high schools. You're not going to be in subpar auditoriums. Everything's going to have the same look. Double stages, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Dual stages, 2 stages at a show, which, by the way, is just double the expenditure, which really make it look like there's nobody there. Double stages, custom lighting. Custom. It actually makes you look better.
Doesn't every show have kind of custom lighting?
Kind of, yeah. That'll be interesting, too. And, of course, their transparent, scoring system, which somehow takes out all the crooked judges and stuff. And
wait, I'm just gonna dispel this transparency myth right now.
Please do.
Okay, here's the thing. Let's say you have the fanciest software in the world that keeps track of what judges enter in somebody. Let's say you have 7 judges sitting at a table, okay? Now, the software is going to keep track of how these judges score.
Like a calculator.
let's say you had one person who wanted to dictate how the results of the show happened, yet at the same time make it look like there's transparency. It would be as simple as walking up to these judges backstage or at the judges table if you're brazen enough,
Sure.
and handing them a piece of paper telling you, just a pencil and a piece of paper,
There it is. Old school.
how you would like them to score the show. You punch it into your computer. Now, when the software kicks out the scores, oh, we're showing the judges' scores. We're showing this, this, and this. If somebody wanted to fix it, it would be as easy to fix as somebody walking up and handing the judge or the
Right.
judges a piece of paper saying how they wanted it to score. Now, let's say you wanted to make it even look more transparent in that there was some discrepancies in the judging. Well, I could walk up and say, you're going to have Joe Blow in first place. You're going to have Joe Blow in first place, but you're going to have Joe Blow in third place. That way it doesn't look like it's unanimous. Look, at the end of the day, the people who are competing in these shows, the fans, the audience, and this might be a lot to ask, they have to have trust that these judges are going to judge the shows equally. And if you don't, go to a different federation. But just because somebody says we're going to have transparency in our organization, by no means. I don't care if the software shows that the judges had different scores, or look, you can see what the judges voted. Yeah, you can see what the judges punched in
Right.
to their tablets, but you can't see. It's complete garbage. This organization and the judging and everything is only going to be as transparent as the person running it. And I think that's enough said.
We see, well, it can't be because we still got a few minutes, but I'll say some more. Here's the bottom line, David. I was actually at one of the last shows that they put on by contract. So this was after he dictated he was going to do his own thing, but he still had a couple of shows left on the docket, which he was allowed to put on. So I was hosting one of them. So I was there at the same time. I actually met his team, at the time, which incidentally, none of them are around anymore. Now, this is going back to October, I think. Late October, early November. I think it was late October. Every guy I met is gone. Speaking of which, we've kind of been down this road before already, which is interesting because a few months ago there was touting of talent people in the area, and they're going to be there looking for talent and all. And this was by Mr. Jordan Woy, I believe, who was in every video he had. He mysteriously disappeared. You haven't even heard that name in months. He's already gone. The tech team is gone. The original guys are gone. The guys that did the website are gone. The photographers are gone. None of them were paid, by the way. From what I understand, I guess there's some litigation that's going to be going on there. But paying the bills doesn't seem to be utmost of the transparent way of doing things. But the bottom line is I was there, and we had our regular judges in place, keeping score with their antiquated ink quills and pencils and papers and parchment. And the funny part is he had his crew in the front row, and they all had their iPads out. So they were going to be doing this, the system that they got. And after about 20 minutes, it became apparent that the thing didn't work. They had a complete failure of it, and they all folded them up, and they were gone as fast as they came in. The thing completely shit the bed and did nothing. And guess what they had to use, David? Pencil and paper. How about that? So
I tell you what, man, I've been judging shows. I started test judging in 2003. I started judging shows in 2004, and I like using a pen, or not a pen rather, but a pencil and a piece of paper. As people come out, I'm making notes. I'm writing who I think is where. I think anybody who's been a judge has seen somebody hit a front relax shot, a front double bicep, a front lat spread, and kind of, okay, this is my first place guy. Then all of a sudden you see a couple of back shots. You're like, oh, geez, I better erase this. I need to rethink this. Granted, you could go back and forth with a tablet, and I'm not saying that the software system isn't something that can be polished up or utilized in the future. But to suggest that simply because somebody's using a pen and a piece of paper to judge a show, that somehow the process itself is so antiquated and horrible,
right.
That's ridiculous as well.
By the way, just chiming in on that, he's also touted celebrity judges for some of these shows. How does that work into it? As you're up there for a physique competition and you've got some pseudo celebrity. Let's just say, I don't know, Slim Thug is on the stage, right? He's down.
I don't know who that is.
He's a rap guy, but you got to keep up with your rap, David.
He's Joel Osteen's buddy.
Yeah, him and Joel Osteen will be on the panel. What do they know about physiques?
I mean,
seriously, I want judges that know what the hell they're looking at is I just put in 12, 14 weeks of preparation into this show. I don't care how transparent your system is or whether it even works if they don't know what they're looking at.
Yeah, to bring somebody in because they're a celebrity is 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 maybe good for publicity, which obviously somebody's starving for. But like you said, if you're dieting for 12, 16, 20 weeks and you're putting in the work, you want to have your physique judged by somebody who's judged competitions before, knows what they're looking at, has experience. You know, obviously there's a process for people to get from local shows to a national level to IFBB. So at the IFBB level, these are the people who have been judging for years and years and years. They've seen shows at every level, and they're deemed qualified by people who have been there. So to bring in a celebrity guest might seem cool, but it's kind of an insult to the athletes at the same time, as far as I'm concerned. You know,
Well,
maybe a celebrity guest to judge the posing routine might be an idea. But not,
yeah, there
not
you
the
go.
actual show. Absolutely not.
Well, one final bit on this, and we'll call it a day because we could go on for 5 hours, unfortunately, with this situation.
Oh, I could go on.
So recently there's been an exchange. Now, there's a guy named Mike Kaiser. Okay, he's an older gentleman. He goes way back to the early beginnings of the AAU, believe it or not, in the
Okay.
NPC. I think he's as old as Yoda, but that's just a guess. But he's not young, okay? So this guy, now he resurfaced. Now he's out of Texas, okay? He used to judge years ago. I think he might have even been a chairman at some point of some states. Now again, we're going back there now. He popped up in September or so, kind of wanting to get back into the mix. He reached out to the chairman of Texas Now, Ed Pariso, with an email and said, "Hey, I'm interested in judging back again. Jim Banyan can, vouch for my credentials. Here's who I am. Here's what I've done." Okay. And, Ed kind of went from there, and they had an exchange back and forth. Well, he never ended up hearing back from this individual. But the next time we saw him was on Lee Thompson's side. That he was spouting the NSL and all these injustices, and I was back when the AAU was fighting the NPC, and I can tell you firsthand, and all this stuff kind of came up all of a sudden. Except for one thing. I actually have the email exchange. All right, between Mike Kaiser and our Texas District Chairman, Mr. Ed Pariso. And it's funny, David, because I don't know if memory's just slipping on him, but he's been out there for 3-4 days now, just championing the cause and injustices, we'll be served and all this kind of stuff, Windbreakers, David, windbreakers, they're coming for you. All right.
I honestly don't even know what that. Maybe I'm just behind on the times. I'm not up with my terms. What does that even mean? The windbreaker.
Well, every movie you've ever seen has always been like the FBI guys. They always got those crappy windbreakers on with the it says FBI and that kind of stuff on it. So that's what he's referencing is that we're all going down. Everybody's going to go to jail. Everybody's going to
I'm sure the FBI is keeping close.
Oh yeah.
Close tabs on physique competitions because they don't have better things to do.
Listen, there's ISIS and then there's IFBB. It's right there, bro. You can look it up. The stats are there. ISIS, IFBB. Oh yeah, some of the allegations lately have been nothing short of laughable. People being put in trunks, murdered.
What? I didn't hear that one.
I don't make this stuff up. Okay, I don't.
Somebody got stuffed in a trunk.
Oh
huh?
yeah, listen. People have been put in trunks. People have been coerced. People have been murdered. People have been trafficking, porn sites, child porn. That's been brought up. Human trafficking. This is all put out there. Now again, I'm not making this up, folks. The first lady of the NSL actually put this out herself, and yes, we did grab that on a screen catch, so it's there, for the attorneys. He likes to kind of keep spouting attorneys. That's okay. Listen, we've got attorneys too, and all this stuff is out. Contest fixes, David. They've all been fixed. Every single one of them. From 1965, when Larry Scott was guaranteed the Olympia, right up to today. Every one of them has been alleged to be, fixed. I don't know who benefits from this, by the way, or how that would be managed to be done.
Right.
But some of these same guys that are involved over there were involved with our organization for 20 years. The head judge himself, who I grew up with, all right, who was reported to be one of the not reported to be, he was one of the most respected guys in the industry. Has recently showed up his head over there, and of course he's got a different tale to tell now, which is interesting because if all these injustices and things were going on, well, where were you 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? It makes no sense, but. Let me get back to my original premise with our friend Mr. Kaiser here, okay? I have the email exchange, which I'm going to be putting right there on our MD forums for everybody to see, since I took the liberty of putting them on The
That ought to be good.
the Thompson Muscle Contest Facebook, as well as his own and the Inspire Facebook. So they were all there. Unfortunately, for some bizarre reason, and these are Mike's emails that he put out. They were all deleted. I don't quite know why. Well, actually, I do know why, and we're going to put that out on our MD forums for everybody to see. But he was singing a different tune. And again, here was a gentleman that was talking about contest fixings and things, coercion of business and different things. But it was kind of slanted towards the other side. Actually, he references Mr. Thompson in all these dealings that he actually witnessed firsthand or had firsthand knowledge of. So it's kind of interesting, David. It's how the pendulum swings.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna throw this out, and then maybe I'll stop talking and close with this. In every business across, are you gonna put shades on for me?
I got my old man specs here, but we got to wrap it up in about 4 minutes. Do I look smarter?
Yeah, you instantly. Yeah, no. In every business, across every industry, across the world, there are situations where somebody works for a boss and decides, I can go off and do this myself in a similar industry, and I think I can do it better or I can profit from it. I see it all the time. My brother worked for a big dental practice, worked there for a few years, decided he wanted to do his own thing. He went off, started his own company, wished them the best. He did his own thing. There was no bad mouthing, no nothing on either side because it's understood. A friend of mine was working for a construction company when he was in his teens and early 20s, decided, you know what? I'm going to go off. I want to be my own boss. I'm going to start my construction company. Well wishes on both sides. Are they competing for bids and things like that? Sure. This isn't a new concept at all, anywhere. This literally happens all over the world in every industry. But in this particular instance, the first thing this guy did when he started his new thing is start slinging mud. That's the first thing he did. Instead of saying,
hang on, Dave. I'm going to correct you on that. No, the first thing he did was steal the name.
Yeah.
Then he started slinging mud. Maybe that didn't work out too good.
No, but that's the first thing he did. In his very first video, he starts slinging mud. And then like a month later, I remember because I was at the dog park walking my dog, and I saw this video. Let's just all get along. Enough of the negativity. Let's just show love. And then in a crazy mood swing, which what a surprise that he had one, a week later he was throwing more mud. And then that's been the consistent story. Instead of promoting your own business, get out there and promote your own business. Never once. I was the administrator at Baye Dentistry for 5 years before I took the full-time job for MD. Very successful dental practice here in the Fox Valley in Wisconsin. Never once did we put out anything negative at all or even say anything negative about my brother's previous employer. In fact, he was very particular because he had respect for the old people. And granted, you split on different terms. Sure. Don't say anything bad about those people because it makes us look bad if we speak poorly of other people. And it's the same all across. And I might not be some millionaire businessman. I've got a couple of cool 80s shirts and some baseball hats. But I'll tell you what, even I know that when you start a new business, if that's all you ever do is sling mud, all you're going to do is attract pigs. That's that.
Can't really sum it up any better than that, David. All right, that's going to bring to a close another edition of The Last Rep with David Baye and, of course, myself. We're going to be back this week, folks. I'll guarantee you this is going to inspire, sorry to use that phrase, some real good conversation on the forums this week. It's amazing how many words have just been thrown out of my vocabulary now. I can't even use them without breaking into a smile. I can't use transparency. I can't use inspire.
Transparency.
I can't use equality. I can't use they're all gone, man. But
I can't use the word bride. Not like I use bride that much in my daily
Proverbs.
This is my last thing, and I promise I'll stop.
You got 30 seconds. Go.
If you've been married 5 times, if you're on marriage number 5, please stop talking about how wonderful marriage number 5 is, and for the love of God, don't use Bible verses to prove the point of how much you are in love with bride number 5. And after 3 years, it's creepy to call him your bride anymore. It's your wife. On the day of the wedding, it's your groom, your bride. That's it. Afterwards, it's your wife. If you graduate college, the day you graduate, you're the graduate. 2 years later, your mom doesn't say, oh, hey, look at my college graduate. No, the day of. That's all you get for bride, the day of your wedding. 3 years later, stop. Creeping all of us out.
And on a final note, you may want to pick a different movie other than Pretty Woman to illustrate your relationship. So, because if I'm not mistaken, David, it's the story of a whore that fell in love with the guy that was paying for her services. And on that note, good night, everybody.